Welcome to the Dose of Courage podcast, a podcast where I teach purpose driven women the principles and habits of courageous living. Keep listening. I promise you will become bolder, more confident, and courageous enough to be who God has called you to be, do what God has called you to do, and take possession of everything God said you can have without apology or hesitation. Be sure to join us in the Dose of Courage community on Facebook to connect and continue the conversation. I'm your host, Courage Molina, faith coach, pastor, and everyone's favorite Bible teacher. Let's go. What's up? I am so glad y'all are back here. I have a special guest for y'all. First of all, y'all know I only bring y'all the best. And so I'm going to go ahead and say you're welcome before I even introduce her. You're welcome. This lady, I met her not too long ago, right, in this Purpose to Platform program. She was a participant. She was going through it. And right from the beginning, whether she knew it or not, there was just something about her. I don't know if it was her smile. I don't know if it was her energy. Like, I literally don't know what it was, but it was like every single time she was on the screen, she showed up with this like, yep, I'm here. And I'm going to get everything I came here to get to. And I absolutely loved it. So let me give you her official bio. I'm going to read it so I don't make any mistakes. Our guest today is Lindsay Rae Perry, who is best known as the Queen Maker. She's an award-winning strategist, tech CEO, entrepreneur advocate, and visionary. She uses her platform to encourage women entrepreneurs to embrace identity, leave behind the toxic corporate grind, and build a life and business on purpose. With well over a decade of experience in strategic consulting, I speak English and I can read sometimes, y'all. Lindsay has worked with brands such as Porsche, AT&T, Google, and many other global brands. Okay, now Lindsay. Lindsay has also contributed thought-leading commentary for local, national, and international media markets such as Good Morning Washington, TRT Global, and SiriusXM, to name a few. Far too familiar with the oppressive effects of being an entrepreneur in corporate America, Lindsay is a pioneer in helping lady bosses build sustainable lives and businesses with grace and ease. Her strategic expertise has grown her company, Lindsay Rae Perry Consulting and Development, from 0 to 6 figures in less than a year. But above all, she's a loving wife, mother, sister, and friend. Y'all help me welcome my friend, my new friend. She don't even know it. Lindsay Ray Perry, welcome to the Dose of Courage podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Courage. I am just so blessed to be here. And I do want to let you know that the crazy thing is we met in P2P, but your number is in my phone. And let me tell you why. You taught my goddaughter at Elevation. Her name is Christiane. She's 6. Christiane McCab. Yes, my baby.
I know exactly. You don't have to tell. You got to tell me nothing else.
My baby girl. Yes. And so her mother actually reached out to me and said, I need you to meet this girl. And at the time I was busy. So I was just like, okay, who is she? And she sent me your number, connected us on group chat, but we never linked up. And I was just busy. My head was down and I was building. And then we get in P2P. I'm like, Courage. I don't know any other person named Courage, but I got a Courage in my phone. And I literally, it's you, sis.
That's crazy.
Yes. So we really are friends.
That is such a small place. That is so crazy. Listen, that's my girl. She,
Yes.
These teens,
Yes.
they keep you on your toes.
Yes, they do.
She kept me on my toes. I absolutely love. That's when I was a teen volunteer and I had an e-group with them. Those were my people. I only had like 3 of them, but they were ride or die. They were like, yeah, we sticking with you. I'm like, y'all come every week, don't y'all?
That's my baby.
That is so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes. I forgot to tell you that, but I was like, I'm going to save this.
I cannot stop smiling because that's my girl. You know, like I actually, you know, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I know them. And I thought you were gonna say like I taught somebody in school, and I was a teacher for 11 years. So I was like, I don't know how that's gonna go. I don't know
My
what year of
baby.
my life that was.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is after I knew the Lord. That's good. This
Yeah,
is good.
after you knew the Lord, yeah.
I was teaching before I knew him well. So this is
Yes.
good. It's after I knew the Lord because I was tell your mama I said. So this is good. Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you are here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I want to get right into it, right? And so you know that I'm all about action. I want people to feel good and I want this to be a great conversation, but I also want them to be motivated to take action because it's in action that our lives are changed, they're improved, right? We can start experiencing the things that we want to experience in our life. And so my first question for you is after the women are done listening to this podcast, they're going to listen to this interview. What do you hope they do as a result of what they hear here today?
Well, one of the things that I really want them to do is I want them to give themselves permission to dream again. I feel as though we go through life and in this world, we have so many people who tell us what we can't do, who we are not. And we grow up in this world trying to figure out what it is we're supposed to do. But I want the women to be comfortable in embracing who they are, who God created them to be, whether that's team too much or whether that's quiet. Whatever that is, I want them to embrace their identity. And I also want them to give themselves permission to dream the highest, biggest, most grandest version of a dream that they could possibly dream and not be afraid to go after it and ask God for it.
Oh, that's big. One of the things that I say a lot is like, you know, God is able to do more than we can ask, think, or imagine. I'm like, but the problem is we don't use our imagination. You ain't imagining anything. It's low level. So you want the Lord to be able to pay your bills this month. Like he can do so much more than you can even imagine. Why not take this challenge to get your imagination up? How big can you get it? How much grander? How much more detail? So I love that that's what you want them to do.
Yes.
Why is that important to you? Like what in your life to this place where you're like, you know what? This is what I want to leave the world with today.
Well, it's important to me because I grew up watching, you know, the women around me, very gifted, very talented, you know, born and raised, a single mother, watching her work 3 jobs at a time, come home. And she was a bus driver for over 34 years, loved children, desired to be a child psychologist, didn't go down that path, ended up becoming a bus driver to kind of fulfill that, you know, void or that need of wanting to be around children. Came home, started braiding hair, taught me how to braid hair. We split the profit 60%, 40. She would clean schools during the summer as a janitor. She was a private chef, a cook. She would do all the things, right? She did nails, she made clothes. And I saw that, but I never saw it become a sustainable business. And it always seemed to never be enough, even though she had enough to put food on the table and take care of me and other people's children, right? Gave coats and clothes and suckers and food to kids on her bus who she felt didn't have it all, but she never had enough, so to speak, quote unquote. And I knew that if somebody gave her the permission to really go after what it was that she wanted, if she didn't run into, you know, have an abusive, you know, father, or if she didn't have people around her who told her she couldn't be, or, you know, discouraged her from playing the piano or whatever it was that she did, maybe she would have really went all in. Maybe she would have just went after her dreams. And unfortunately, you know what I mean? She didn't, but it's never too late. She's still here. She's still breathing. She still has purpose. But I know that she never pushed that on me. My mom really encouraged me to say, I know I decided to have a job and work 30 plus years, you know, of my life, but I don't want that for you. And whatever it is that you want to be in this world, I want to encourage you to do that. So there were times where I wanted to be a scientist. She bought me, you know, like a microscope with little organisms and larvae so that I can check things out. And there was a time where I said, no, I want to own my own business and I need a computer or I need something. She would buy me that. I said, I want to own my own retail store. She bought me a cash register from Office Depot, y'all. Like, she literally invested in whatever it was I said I wanted to be, whenever it was I said I wanted to be it, whether I was 6, 7, 8, 9, she was all in, because her biggest thing was she knew that she really had big dreams and she was gifted, but nobody really encouraged her and nobody supported her. So she stood in the gap for me in that way and really encouraged me to not settle for a life that was less deserving, and not settle for a life where I didn't go after my dreams and ask God for everything that I wanted. So
that's very different than most have at a young age, especially in our community, especially from single parents. What we hear a lot of times in our community is like, get a good job, go to school, get a good job, just get a job with benefits. Like that's the great dream. That is the making it, right? Like anything past that is it's not necessarily for us, unless we have sports or something like that outside of, football or basketball making it for us, then it's just a good job. And so to hear that you had that reinforcement on who you were and what you were capable of and what was in you and in those possibilities, that's a different foundation, right? That's a different foundation. That sets you up with a different level of confidence, right?
Yes.
Maybe I can. You don't have the people who love you the most, who you think are equipped, or who you think are healthy, telling you, we'll just settle for this, right? We think they're equipped, we think they're healthy, but honest to God, a lot of times our parents are broken.
They're human.
Right. And they're human, right? And they've gone through things. And so they're giving us the advice based on their experience, and sometimes based on filtered through their fears, right?
Yes.
So it's amazing that you had that. And so what did that do for you? What was with that? Listen, with that type of foundation and cheerleading going on, at a register from Home Depot.
Well, it was a lot. It's a huge dichotomy, because I'm an only child, but I come from a large, family, and my mom was an anomaly in the area of that. Like, you go after exactly what it is that you want. You don't settle for a good job with benefits. I don't care what it is. I know that you're different. And that's the stock that I come from, right? So it was ingrained in me. It was natural, but there's also a dichotomy of suffering, because, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, right? I, know what it's like to be in working class. I know what it's like to live on Section 8 in public housing. Like, that's exactly, but my mom made it so beautiful. I never knew. Like, I didn't know we lived on Section 8 until I turned like 20. I was like, what? This is what it was, because she was just a beautiful woman, and made the space beautiful, and made sure that we didn't go without. So I never really knew that. However,
I didn't know we were poor until I was like, I didn't know we were poor until I was like 16, 17. I was like, wait.
Right. No, Kat, because I didn't know we were poor. My mom, she's just such an amazing woman. I remember having to go, we had this thing called Junior Afro Ball. And, everybody around me was like getting their hair done. They were able to go to the like hairdresser and get like these, I don't know if you know what a sculpture ponytail is. This is how, yes. So everybody was getting their sculpture ponytails, and, my mom, I went to go get my nails done, but my mom didn't take me to, the hairdresser in our city to go get the sculpture ponytail. And my mom would look at pictures, and she ended up creating it herself for me. And it wasn't until I go down the line and I think about all the sacrifices and all the things that she did for me. Like, she created this beautiful sculpture ponytail. It was bad, but this was her first time doing it. But she's like, this is what my baby wants. And I know I don't have the money. Like, I can't imagine as an adult now and I have a son, I can't imagine. I know what it's like to be like, man, like, I want to give you everything that you possibly want, but I can't imagine what was going on inside of her. Like, I don't have the money, but she did it, but she made a way. Right. And I still didn't know we were poor then. I didn't know we were poor until we went to college, and I started having to get all these loans. And I'm like, what in the world? I thought you worked, in my mind. I'm like, I thought you worked so much, Mom. Like, you work so much. Why is this not materializing, right, into like rich wealth? Like, I'm trying to figure out why y'all going to work so much if y'all not, what's going on? And that was really the start.
Now that's the narrative that we get, right? That people are poor or in poverty because they are lazy, because they're not willing to work, they're not go-getters, they're not
hardest working people I know.
Right. And then you see people working so hard and like, okay, well, since the narrative is the people who are sitting around doing nothing are the poor people, then I know we sitting on coin over here because sister's going to work every day. So mom, I'm about to write a check for this tuition, right? I believe we understand exactly what you mean. Okay.
Right. No. And that was really, it was like, oh, I definitely don't want to sign up for this life. I knew I didn't want to sign up for that life when I was 6 years old, and we did a report and the teacher said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I just want to call the shots. I want to be the boss of my own life. 6 years old, like didn't really know what that was going to look like. Right. My father, which we have a very complicated story, as we all do. Right. I'm a love child, but you know, I don't know why they call it a love child, but I consider myself a love child, which some people would say born out of, you know, an extramarital affair. But my father, you know, was lying. God bless his soul. He was lying. And in that, I developed a sense of rejection. I remember being, and I tell this story often, but I remember being 12 years old and I had never stepped foot on my father's doorstep, never crossed the threshold, never been into his home. He lived across the street from the middle school that I went to. And the crazy thing about it is anytime I wanted to see my father, I would go to work with him. He had a very good job. He worked for, you know, an economic opportunity association. So they help people in the community. He was a director. So he called the shots in his own life a little bit. You know, he could go to work, go to lunch, be out and about whenever he wanted. But if I wanted to see my father, I had to either go to work with him to produce some work. I had to meet him at, you know, stores. We had to meet up, you know, in cars and passing, go to juke joints. My dad was an avid, you know, card player. He was the man. So I would go to these juke joints where he was playing cards. And, you know, I would sit there and just watch him play the game. He was an OG, really. He was just a beautiful man. But he was a real gangster, real life gangster. I kid you not, but he was amazing. But at the same time, he was deeply flawed. And in that, because I had this relationship with my father where I had to always do. I remember being 12 years old and me and my friend and I, we missed the bus. And I saw my dad's car was across the street because that's where he lived. I knew where he lived. I just never been there. Never thought in my mind as to why I never went to his house. It was just a thing. It was my normal. So I said, hey, we can go across the street and ask my dad for a ride home because he's there. Went across the street, knocked on the door. Oh. Dad answers the door, but doesn't open the screen door. And he has shaving cream all over his face. And he looks at me and I look just like him. So if you could just picture a man, right? Fine, but he was tall, like 6'4". And he's like, Lindsay. I was like, yeah, hey, Dad, we missed the bus. You know, I'm 12. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, we missed the bus? And he's like, I was like, can you give us a ride? What if, you know, an insert name would have answered the door? I said, I don't know. She would have answered the door. And he was like, don't come back here. I'll call you. Slams the door. My friend and I are sitting there like, I'm in shock, but I'm in pain, but I'm in shock. And I'm just like, oh, what is this? I don't even know what this is going on in my body right now. So my friend, God bless her heart, her name was Dominique. She said, come on, Lindsay, let's go. And we walked home about 1 hour and 30 minutes. I held the tears in my throat the entire time. I did not cry. I was in shock. When I got home, I bawled. I remember my mom getting off work and I told her the story. I said, Mom, this is what happened. And that's when she told me the story about my conception. And the first words was, your father lied to me. And in that, at 12 years old, I immediately felt like the rose-colored glasses that I saw life through ended. I started seeing myself in such an unworthy way. I started believing that I was an abomination. I started believing that I deserved to be rejected in every space that I went. I started believing that, you know, I didn't deserve a great life, that I literally was just on this earth for what reason, I had no idea. I had suicidal ideations. I literally was depressed at 12 years old. And then it just spiraled, 13, 14, and you don't have the tools or the resources to really articulate it. So even though I have this cheerleader, right, I have this person that says, I will invest in your dream. I also have this thing where I don't know why you're investing in my dream when I don't belong here. I don't belong on earth. I'm not worthy. And so when I walked around believing with this lens of rejection, every space that I walked into, I basically gave other people permission to treat me any old kind of way. I didn't ask for much, right? I didn't ask for what I was worth. I would do jobs, even I was achieving, right? I was still going after whatever I thought I was going after, but I wasn't chasing a vision. I was running from my pain, right? I didn't have a vision. I was just running from pain. So beyond, middle school, high school, get to college, I'm an economics major. I'm experiencing all kinds of hell for real as a Black female in a white institution and the only Black female in the economics program. And I leave there and I feel like I was rejected in that space. But it all confirmed what I told myself at 12 when I found out that this was the circumstance of my conception. I'm rejected. Don't you see? Like, there's no reason for you to treat me any better than what you're treating me. You can call me whatever, you can treat me any kind of way because I deserve it. That's what I felt, right? Yeah. And I moved to Washington, D.C., and I start working in the political world, which was my dream. I start flying all over the country. I start doing media, making it look real good on the gram, right? But at the same time, the feeling never went away. I just masked it with working. I just masked it with, if I don't want to feel this way, I'll just do extra work. I'll just, just pick up a client. I'll just start a business. I'll just, start drinking extra wine, right? I'll just start maybe smoking a little bit of extra weed. Like, I'm just being honest. I start doing a little bit of extra stuff so that I can kind of mask this pain. Not saying that, I call myself, a believer, like, oh God, I believe you. I love you. I know you got me. But deep down inside, I don't feel like you should have me because nobody loves me. Nobody wants me. Why should anybody care? And I'm married. My husband is loving on me, calling me beautiful. And I'm thinking he's only saying that because he feels sorry for me, not because he actually loves me, right? Because nobody loves me. Why would they? Look, I'm an abomination. That's how I walked around.
Identity, I think that people underestimate the importance of identity. It is huge and nothing happens. There's no change. There's no growth. There's no peace. There's nothing that happens when you lose sight of your identity. When you are in an identity crisis and you don't know who you are, you start to identify and call yourself according to the labels, according to the things that you have been through, what you've experienced, and not just the labels that you have, but also what people associate with those labels, right? So it's not just that I'm a love child, but what does the world say about that? So
that part.
If the world says that, then that must be me. Right?
And that's what I internalize.
That's what happens. That's identity. Because it's impossible. It is, I want y'all to hear this, okay? It is impossible to accept a label for your identity. I don't care what the label is. It's impossible to get that label. And if you are not grounded, not take all of the baggage that comes with that, what you think of it, what society thinks of it. If you don't know who you are in God, right? Like, it has to come down to that space, right? If I don't know who I am in God, then I am all of these labels, and then there's a narrative connected to all of those labels, and we never behave outside of who we think we are. Right? We never behave outside of that. That's why we take whatever. That's why people will say, oh, I have great confidence. I'm like, well, your life say otherwise, but okay, cool. People don't like to say that they're not confident. People don't like to say that they're struggling, and that's cool, but you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears, and doesn't need to be competitive. I don't need to compete. Girl, I need to compete with you because what's got my name on it has my name on it, so I can collaborate with you, right? It changes your posture, girl.
And I'm telling you, so this is the key. I started a business, my first business in 2015. I had all the marketing, right? I had communications. I thought I was doing, I knew intellectually in my head, I thought I had it all together. But I couldn't really get the money that I thought I was getting. I wasn't fulfilled. I felt like I was running in circles. I was grinding my life away. Honestly, I had no time for my family, meaning my husband. I had no time for friends. All of my relationships were based off of work. All of my relationships were based off of like just networking. It wasn't really anything concrete, solid covenant relationships that were gospel friends, right? I didn't have that. And it was in 2017 when I literally had a nervous breakdown, which I call a nervous breakthrough, and I lost it. I collapsed in the middle of the street. The ambulance had to come and scoop my body off the ground, and they asked me, "Where do you, Miss Perry, where do you live?" And I gave them my childhood address. I was in Washington, D.C. at the time. I'm from Toledo, Ohio. So I was like, I lost my mind for a second. And God, that was God's breakthrough to me, because there was no way I was going to sit down. And what I realized is that was his way of breaking me open and showing me myself in the most benevolent and loving way possible. That all of these accomplishments and all of these achievements that I thought that I was really going after was me running from this rejection. Well, I was still walking around in a 27, 28-year-old body, but I was a 12-year-old broken little girl whose father slammed the door in her face and told her to never come back to his doorstep. And God had to literally open me up to see, like, this is what you're running from. I'm giving you a vision. It's my vision that I'm giving to you, but you got to write it down and go after that. I need to heal you. I need to heal your heart. I need to heal your anger. I need to heal this bitterness. I need to heal this idea of who you think you are. And I need to show you that I'm changing your name and I'm giving you a new identity, and that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that I called you to be great. I called you for such a time as this. I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Like, you are my child. I am your exceeding and great reward. I'm the one that I am the author and finisher of your faith. I am your father. So if you could step away from the rejection of your natural human dad and accept and embrace me as father, and I'm going to show you what a real daddy's going to do for his child. I'm going to show you how a real father loves on his child. I'm going to show you how you really are. I'm going to show you how beautiful you are. I'm going to show you all of those little, quirks that you think are too much, and the fact that you may talk a lot, and the fact that you just, when you walk into a room, you are too big for some of the rooms you're walking in. That's fine. I'm with you, always have been, but I'm going to teach you how to embrace that as well. And it was a journey of really just allowing for God to love on me. And even in the rejection of my natural father, right? Billy Mosley, I love you, Daddy. God bless your soul. We had a beautiful ending. I was there when he took his last breath. I walked through his transitional journey onto glory. I spoke scriptures to him. I prayed over him. I asked if he believed in Jesus. Would he accept Jesus as his Savior? I was there with him. And so I know that I have peace about that. And I accepted it, and I forgave my natural dad, but I had to forgive myself for all of the years that I tormented myself for believing that I was illegitimate. Like, God says, you're not illegitimate. You are legitimate. You are solid. You are authentic, period. I put my stamp of approval on you. I affirmed you before anybody could ever affirm you. You don't need validation from your natural daddy, from your natural mama, from your natural cousins, aunties, uncles, whatever. You don't need affirmation from them, because I got you. I have you. And when God began to love on me in that way, I began to see myself in a whole nother light. And I went on this journey of, I got counseling, right? I started therapy. I was listening to Redefining Wealth for real, found it on the internet and just binge listened to it. Ended up in P2P. And I realized that, yes, I called you to do great things. Yes, I called you to work with, and partner with global companies, because I'm calling you to make global impact. But I need for you to be a healed and whole woman, solid in who I've called you to be, solid in your identity in me. So when I introduce myself, when you say queen maker, that comes from Genesis 12, when God said, I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you, and I will make your name great, and kings shall come from you. Queens come from me, because I'm a crown fixer. There's no competition here. When I see a woman, I see who she shall be, not who she thinks she is. And I want to speak to that woman. I want to speak to the woman that you shall be. I want to speak to that crown that you're wearing, and I want to fix it. So it's not this haughty thing like queen maker, because I don't make anybody, but I do fix crowns, and I do help people to see themselves as who God created them to be. And I love the space that I'm in right now because I genuinely can say, I love Lindsay. She's legitimate. She is not rejected. She is accepted by God. And I find my identity in Christ and I'm solid. I'm good.
You know what? I love that you talked about, first of all, you said a whole word. You said, oh, I can stop the recording right now. Have a good day. Like, that's a whole word. That's all y'all needed right there. A whole word. I love that you talk about forgiveness and forgiving yourself because I think that people miss that. Like, okay, now I know who I am in Christ. And now you think that's the time where you can get back to work. It isn't. You have to start with healing because whatever got you there, I tell people all the time, like a diagnosis is not a cure. Right? Just because I realized what the problem is and I realized that my problem was identity, right? Doesn't mean now I'm fixed and I like, oh, my problem was my identity. Now I can get back to work. No, friend.
No.
It's not the next step. Boo, slow down. I love that you talk about healing because I truly believe that healing starts with forgiveness. You know, once you start to forgive yourself, that is the thing that allows you to heal. Once you start to forgive the people that might have let you down or you felt betrayed by or whatever, people who have done things to you. Once you start to forgive those people and start forgiving yourself, that's when you can get into a space of healing. And as you to walk with God in your identity, then you don't shy away from the other practical things that you need to do to get healed, right? It does start in the spiritual space. And y'all know, I love the Lord, I love the Bible. But baby, sometimes you need therapy. Sometimes you need an actual doctor. Sometimes you need a hospital room. Sometimes you need an accountant. Sometimes you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, now you know who you are and you've started this journey of healing. That's not where it stops. You still have to bring other people who have been called into their thing to help you heal so that then you can get to this next space and do the thing that you've been called to do because somebody else's blessing, right, is tied to your yes, is tied to your calling. You haven't been called. The calling is for you, but it ain't about you. No. And the minute that you realize that, right, then you can get into the space like you're saying where I don't need to compete with you. Why? Because I truly know. I'm not just saying I know who I am. That's not, I'm not faking the funk. I actually know who I am and I know what my name is. And so there are things in this world with my name on it. They are labeled. They say courage. I don't care if you get there first, you still not getting it because it doesn't have your, like, girl, you can get there 5 days before. Come on. It's not going to be delivered to you. They're going to be like, ma'am, this is actually not for you. Your gifts and your blessings, they actually over there. These courage blessings, yeah, they destiny because she hard-headed, but I'm going to hold them for her. Here, I absolutely love that. And so you're loving the space that you're in right now. Tell me about where you are right now. Tell me about the place that you're in.
Oh my God. I'm in a space of peace, of flourishing, of growth, of expansion. Like I can't even explain it right now. I know that these are the things that I've dreamed, the desires of my heart, that I don't speak to anyone, right? That nobody can really tell me like, you want to work. I was thinking that God wanted me to like, you can work one-on-one with women and, you could just do that little thing and I'm not saying it's a little thing because God bless those that really have the gift to just work one-on-one all day, every day. But I was trying to do that. I was trying to stay in this small space and God was like, no, but I'm calling you to make greater impact. And there's no way you can make great impact if you are taking calls all day with a family, with a son, with a life, like with time with me, like that's not going to happen. So what I want you to do is I want you to be able to partner with larger companies. And there's this level of confidence that I have now that I don't think I had because I will walk into spaces, right, and think I'm just happy to be at the table. Ooh, whatever, right? I'm just happy to be here.
I used to get to the table and think, I hope they don't realize I'm not supposed to be
here. That imposter syndrome, right?
I hope no one checks the guest list and it's like, okay, we see Kurt over there, but she actually not on the guest list. Who snuck and let her in, right?
Right. Yeah. But no, because that was that level of rejection when I would walk into these spaces, right? But now I walk in here and I'm like, we are equals at this point, right? I'm here because I'm bringing value. I'm here because I'm adding value and I'm bringing a whole lot of people with me, right? So I'm here and what I'm asking for, I am expecting to get because I belong here. I'm worthy of being here. I add major value. I got my daddy with me. I didn't grind to get here. I wasn't banging on your door to get here. You invited me and asked me to come to this table, which means this seat has been mine since the beginning. So I own that now. I didn't own that before. I would be like, oh my God, they want to meet with me. Well, why do you think they want to meet with you, Lindsay? Why do you think they want to meet with you, baby? You're not banging on their door. You're not grinding. You're not trying. This is all alignment. This is me blessing.
I hate hearing this on interviews. I used to okay, this is my before I was, I used to hate hearing somebody say, and I'm saying because I don't know who's listening, right? I used to hate hearing people say, well, I didn't have to call anybody. People were calling. I used to be like, well, so what? I'm out here calling people. I didn't like it until like you said, you think that you're in a good place, because I thought I was in a good place. I thought we lie to ourselves, and we have a different addiction. I could hear your addiction. We have a different addiction. Addiction is like accomplishment and achievement, right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what fills me. It's gonna fill this hole. It's gonna fill this void. And so when you have that, you also low-key lie to yourself about your level of confidence. And it's in that space, right? In that fake confidence, high achieving space that you are still like pressed, and you're still, intimidated at the tables that you get to. I used to listen to podcasts, and I was in rooms, I was at tables, and I would think like, oh my gosh, I'm so lucky to be, and I'm not saying, I'm so lucky to be, I don't know, I hope nobody checks to see. And I would hear podcasts and I would hear interviews where people would be like, I was just doing my thing, and then somebody knocked on my door. I'd be like, nobody's knocking on my door, right? And, it happened. And when it happened, I thought, okay, wait a second. This is an opportunity that I wouldn't have applied for if I'm honest. If I'm honest, if I'd seen it, I probably would have been like, yeah, probably not for me. Like, I'm probably not going to get it. Like, it wouldn't have been a deep-seated, heartfelt, like, I'm probably not going to, I just would have thought, well, I probably won't get it. That's it. And I would just kept scrolling. But somebody came to me. And what they came to me for is because it's this thing, like, when you know who you are, you just start showing up different in season and out of season. It is just this glow, this thing that you put out, and it is very attractive because everybody is on the gram, everybody is on Facebook, is on Reels, is on, everybody out there is saying, I can do this, I add value. Everyone that's saying it isn't healed, everyone that's saying it can't.
That's right.
Everyone that's saying it doesn't believe it. They're saying it because they have to say it, but they don't believe it. There were times that I said I could do something. Now I know I could have done it, but at the time I was saying it, I didn't believe it.
Right.
I was just because this is what you have to say in marketing. This is what you have to say. And so then you're wondering, like, why am I getting any hits? But when you get to a place of healed and healing, and you're like, what's up? My name is Courage Molina. I'm in the building. I'm like, she's in the building. And when I'm done here, you will know my name and you will know who sent me. Right. Like,
and that's real confidence. That's real confidence. I think that, especially in faith communities, we have this false humility where we want to like present ourselves like we have absolutely no value, because having no value means that, Christ, we're raising Christ up. But I feel like how are we bringing glory to God if we show up dusty, crusty, and believing that we are literally like nothing? Like, I understand that nothing that I have is mine, right? Everything that I have comes from the Lord. That means visions, that means gifting, that means everything that, every good thing that healed somebody or touched somebody or pierced somebody's soul that made them want to go and get free or start a business. That's anointing. Like, that is not, I'm not taking credit for that, but I do realize that in order for that to happen, I needed to give permission for God to use me, and I needed to show up in some way. And so if I'm gonna show up, I want to show up as the beautiful, because this is I'm representing my daddy. I gotta make sure I'm looking good and not in a false way, because a lot of people putting on makeup and wearing the bags and wearing the shoes, but there's no healing, like you said. But we can tell the difference, and the difference is the fruit. The difference is the freedom. The difference is the transformation of the lives that you touch and how they show up. Like, if I say one thing that makes a woman want to go get therapy, that makes a woman want to apologize to herself, to her parents, that makes her want to honor her mother and father, regardless if they are loving people or not, then I've done my job, right? And I've showed up in a way that created that space for them to go and get closer to God, because that's really what it's all about for me. So it's not about these big companies or, how much money, or I took my business from this to that. That's not really what it's about. It's about being a representation of inspiration of what God can do and who you can be on this earth, right? Yeah, I just had to say that. I don't know. I was just
shy away from it because it's not Bible. It's not biblical. Just so we're all clear, it's cultural. It's our Christian culture to have this false humility. When I think about Paul, he's not like, oh, I used to do this and he's like, I'm Paul, that dude with power from God. What's good, right? He just right out the gate. And I'm like, if we're looking at these, Bible greats, we see that people knew their name, that people sang their songs, that they showed up boldly and said, yes, I'm going to do this. And if somebody asked, how did you do it? They said, well, this was all through God, right? Period. But then you go in like, oh, I don't want people to think. I can say that I definitely struggled even through last year, getting to a space where I'm like, I don't care what people are saying, right? It's like, well, I don't want people to think that I'm doing this, especially in the space that I'm in, faith coach, Bible teacher, I have Bible programs. It's like, it's not church, but it is so church adjacent that I feel like, oh, well, she's just after the money. And there was a time where I just didn't show up because I was concerned about people who weren't the people I was called to serve. But then one day the Lord was like, can you please mind your business? Can you please, let me like that. Can you please mind your business and just focus on these women that I've called you to disciple, and they won't see you if you are leaning back, waiting, like you need to go and get them. And when he gave me that release, truth be told, like you said, there's always a beast in me. I just kept her on a leash, like, no, be calm. You're going to scare people. You're going to intimidate people. You're too, like, just be good. The Lord said, get at him. I was like, get him. And there's no turning back. But I think in our culture and with Christianity, it has to be said, right? That it is not cute. It's not Christian. It's not like Jesus for us to be walking around like we are not the dopest thing. How could you not be dope? Like that just makes sense. I was created by he has no lack of resources. He wasn't just trying to figure out like, well, I'm going to use these leftover parts. He made me. He is with precision and detail. How can I be less than, like, it just doesn't even make any sense. And if I'm doing the work that I've been created to do, how can I not kill at it? How can I not dominate at it? It's the reason that I was put on this planet. Like,
dominion.
So for me to pretend like I'm not dope, that's less godly than just showing up saying, yeah, I'm coming kill it. And just recognize.
And we talk about pride. That's right. And we talk about pride going before the fall, but we don't realize it. Like, false humility is pride.
Yes.
Because you are literally basically denying the power of God by not showing up, by not, believing that you could do dope things because you serve this dope God. Like, you say, well, God, I'm gonna stay in the back because I know better than you. Nah, dog, that ain't how it works. Like, no, you go out there and you do what you're supposed to do because I called you. Like, be not afraid, be of good courage. How can we, like, if God is telling us to actually be courageous and we're sitting up here being little timid, well, no, because I serve a timid God. Like, Jesus was not timid. He came to shake things up and disrupt. Like, he was so smooth with it. Like, I think of Jesus and I think of like the original gangster, the fact that when somebody asked him a question, he spoke in parables. Like, he didn't even like answer their question directly, and you had to go to the future to catch exactly what it was he was saying, because he had everybody like, huh? Who is this? Listen, he's the originator of swag.
Yes. Jesus was OG.
Absolutely.
Listen, he was dripping in swagger, as they say. You know?
Yes.
So so they're listening, they're like, okay, they're fired up. We started this conversation with you saying you wanted them to give themselves permission to dream big, 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 because it's from that place, right, that kind of starts you off on this journey where you get to your identity and you get to the healing. What does that look like? So I'm listening. Okay, I got my paper, Lindsay Ray Perry. Give myself permission to dream. What do I actually do with that? What am I doing exactly? What I'm about to do?
Okay, so for me, I always say this prayer, and I say it often: Lord, show me everything the enemy doesn't want me to see about my life. Because I feel like any area of darkness, whether it's inside of me, in my life, in my money, in my, I said finances, but in my business, in my relationships, in my heart, in my soul, show me everything the enemy doesn't want me to see so that my eyes can be enlightened and so that I can work on that area. And so when I began to say that prayer, then I began to move in action, and I began to identify the parts of my life that I have to be honest with myself. Like, what don't I really like about my life, and what don't I really like about myself, right? I keep going on in circles. Like, yeah, I keep doing the same things, but honestly, I'm not fulfilled. I keep going after the same jobs, or I keep trying to start the same business, or I keep putting out the same marketing plan, or I keep running into the same man, or running into the same, friends, and I'm not fulfilled. Like, I don't feel like I'm getting exactly what it is I need. So I need to start there. Like, what do I want that to look like? And once I create a vision, like, I know what I don't like, I know what I don't want, but what is it that I do want? If I want fulfilling relationships, what do I want those relationships to look like? Do I want to travel? What do I want my life to look like? What kind of impact, what kind of business do I want to own, and what kind of impact? If it's not impacting anybody, then it's all for you. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled. It's not going to work. If you're doing this the right way, and if you're doing it God's way, what's the purpose of this? What transformation can I bring about from this? What do I want my marriage to look like if I'm married, right? What do I want that to really look like? You have to be intentional about approaching it, and you have to create a vision for the highest dream in every single sector, right? What kind of woman do I want to be? Do I want to be one who loves, who is one of purpose, who forgives, who walks around with her head held high, who doesn't compete with other women? Okay, now I know that I want to be that kind of person. Well, how can I get there? What kind of books do I need to read? What kind of podcasts do I need to listen to? What kind of activities do I need to be doing? Do I need to be getting my butt up and maybe taking a mile walk? Do I need to go exercise? What do I need to be watching? Am I sitting at home watching Real Housewives all day? No shade, it's a guilty pleasure. But sometimes when you begin to watch, you're allowing for people to broadcast, and the etymology of the word broadcast means to plant seeds. So you're allowing for someone to plant specific seeds into your life. So you need to make sure that whatever you're watching, whatever you're eating, whatever you're reading, whatever you're drinking, all of those things need to be in alignment with the woman that you say you want to be. It can't just be, man, I want to go get the bag. It's great to go get the bag, sis. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But who are you? Who are you? If I came up to you and asked you, who are you? A lot of people say, what do you do? Right? That's the question in the professional circles. And that's great. But I want to know, who are you? And if you tell me your name and you're a mother and you're a wife, that's not good enough, because I really want to know your identity. I want to know who you are. It's great that you're a mom. That's a role, right? That's a part of your identity. It's great that you're a wife. That's a part of your identity. You're a friend, you're a sister. But are you a daughter of God? And do you accept that role as a daughter of God? Do you allow for God to really father you? Do you allow for your relationships to reflect that, where you have brothers and sisters and friends in Christ, where you can go to them and collaborate with them so you can make greater impact in the world? Like, it's one thing to have, what you don't want. And we talk a lot like, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of man. Well, what do you want? Because without a vision, the people perish. So write the vision. Write the vision of who exactly it is you want to be and what you want in life in every single area. What do you want your house to look like? What do you want your floors to look like? What kind of shower do you want to have? You want a jacuzzi tub? You want a different kind of tub? You want a back, like, what do you want your backyard to look like? Do you want a yard? You want to live in a high-rise condo? If that's the case, okay, cool, I want that. Now, how do I go get there? Then you got to begin to prepare. Like for me, if I know I want to live in a specific kind of house, then I need to make, and I'm moving soon, I need to start packing my bags. It's not that anybody told me like, hey, pack your bags, you're moving next week. No, I'm going to start clearing out the space for God to begin to bless me in the area I say I want to be blessed in. If I know that I want to have relationships that are fulfilling, where we do activities together, where I can call you and pray, then if I call you and say, hey, man, I'm really going through a rough time, and my friends are not praying for me, praying with me, sending me encouraging words, then it's going to have to be a click, and I'm going to have to reprioritize your position in my life and in my heart space, because I said I wanted praying friends. And so why am I hanging around with women who are cursing me? And not in a bad way. They're probably good people. They're just not your people. So get out of the circles and the spaces that don't align with who you say you want to be. Like everything, when you say you want something, everything has to align with what you say you want. Your speech, your appetite, your friendships, your surroundings, your environment, everything has to align with that. And if it doesn't, then you got work to do. And we're always going to be working, right, on that space and on that heart work and being self-reflective. But you have to be honest with yourself about who it is you want to be and what it is that you want and how you're going to get there. Now, the how is not necessarily your business, but you do have to sit down with God and write a strategy out for necessary practical steps. So if I want to be healed and I know that this pain in my stomach, and every time somebody brings up this woman's name or my auntie's name or my mama's name, I get this pain in my stomach, or I start feeling real clammy and anxious, that means that I might have a trigger that I need to like pay attention to. So maybe I need to go see a therapist. Maybe I need to talk to somebody. If you're still telling the same story from the past 12 years and it's still bringing you pain, maybe you need to talk to somebody other than your husband, because he can't be your best friend, your everything. You need a therapist. I mean, yes, it's about alignment. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Listen, so this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to create a journal prompt for you guys. They're going to have all the questions that Lindsay's asking you. And what's crazy is this is what I do at the start of my programs. I'm like, okay, I don't care what program it is, whether it's a mastermind or a Bible program. I'm like, let's just take some time to write out where you want to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. What kind of life do you want to have? And take all these different areas. Shout out to Patrice Washington. I always use the pillars of wealth because I feel like I don't miss something. You know what I'm saying? Because we just focus on work, or we just focus on money. Very rarely do we focus on our space, or do we focus on our relationship or our faith or our fitness and physical fitness and mental fitness. I'm like, girl, I'm like, these 6 pillars under they brilliant.
Yes.
So I use them I'm always using them. I use them all the time. And so I'm gonna have a journal. It's in the show notes. You guys can get it there. Make sure that you download it and you answer these questions because they're very detailed. And then the next assignment from that is going to be, I can tell you right now, I can already tell you what's going to be. It's going to be to rewrite it and make it bigger.
Yes. And continue to rewrite it. I feel like every round goes higher and higher. And when God begins to elevate us, it's like what we wanted in that past vision seems even smaller than what we want now. So continue to expand and continue to go, why not me? And that's the approach you have to take to everything. Why not me? Everyone's like, why me? Why'd you choose me? Why not me?
I just added a dance studio to my dream home the other day. I'm like, why don't I? I'm like, how is this not already in my dream home? Like, how come that's not already in the vision that I have for my dream home? Go ahead and add that addition. My husband's like, you're adding addition to the house. I'm like, yes, better that I add it now before we break ground. I'm like,
that's right.
It's coming. I'm like, but let me go ahead and get these details because I can see it in my mind. Let me go ahead and add it. I'm like, I don't know how I didn't add that before. But just getting in the practice of imagining and dreaming and going beyond, that is so good.
Yes, it is so important.
I want to ask you a question because you look so, if y'all are watching this on YouTube, She's so cute, bro. And you're like, oh, she's so cute. And you shared your story, but it's like now you're here. Somebody's thinking, they thinking wrong, but somebody's thinking that you never have any doubt anymore. You never have any fear. Look at your face. You're like, they lied, they wrong. Tell us, when you need a dose of courage, where do you go?
Yeah, first of all, I'm probably scared every day, for real. I have to ask God to be like, you know what, God, I just put it in your hands. Give me courage. I'm gonna walk in here. You call me for this, boom, we just gonna do it. But it's not that I'm not scared. I'm always nervous, a mess before I have to do anything. But where I go to get a dose of courage, there's two or three I'm gonna answer. Okay, so I love dancing and I love music. So sometimes I kind of just turn on, whatever mood I'm feeling, whether it's R&B or, might be gospel, might be trap, who knows. And I dance in the mirror and I do speak to myself like, yeah, girl, you got it. Especially, that song, you got it, girl. I just like that part because I have to tell myself that like, you got it, girl. I got it. Right. All right. Yeah. Then bubble baths, like literally, I love bubble baths and candles and just vibing out music because I can get centered and I can get still and nobody can bother me. I got a toddler and everybody's like in their own space and I just sew for about, an hour or two and just vibe out and get what I need in terms of my mental space, right? Yeah. And skating. I have picked up skating. And it's like, if you fall, I don't fall, right? Because I used to skate all the time when I was a little girl. But if I do fall, I get right back up and I just keep going. Because everybody on the skating ring, whether they've been skating for 20 years or 2 years, they fall. So I love skating because I feel like it just keeps me humble. And it's always something that I can learn. And it's always something that I can learn. And I skate outside. I'll skate, at Kate's. I know you're in Charlotte, so I skate at Kate's. But yeah, those are the three things that I go to get a dose of courage. I'm always watching sermons. I think I'm a sermon junkie for real. But at the same time, like I have to cut it off sometimes and do something with it because I can't just let that word just sit there. So sometimes I gotta let it sit, marinate, and then I need to produce or do something from it. But yeah, those are where I go to get my dose of courage.
I love it. First of all, I love that you dance in front of the mirror.
Yes.
I don't always dance in front of the mirror, but I always dance like I'm on stage, and I've never danced. I always dance like,
hey, yeah, me too.
Always. I don't care if it's fast music, slow music, contemporary things I've never studied, just like how I imagine in my head. I have an entire playlist dedicated to boosting my mood and boosting my confidence. So I love that.
Yes.
Bubble bath, I'm low-key jealous because here in this master bathroom, I didn't think about it when we moved into the home, that it just has a shower. It's a great shower. But in the last year, I'm like, bruh, I don't have a tub.
Yeah.
My master, there's one that's shared with my children. I'm not getting that tub. that's not gonna be in the right mind. Yeah. I can tell you right now, I'm not soaking in that. It's not gonna well, so I ain't going in that. But I just said the other day, I'm like, I feel like that's my next thing. So I just bought a bike, and so I've been riding a bike like a kid again.
Nice.
Like, first of all, it's the funniest thing because I'm like, I wonder what people are thinking when they see me ride this bike, because it's a beach cruiser. It's not like it's just like a straight. I'm like, I'm chilling.
Yeah, nice.
And I thought the next thing I want to get skates because I used to skate back in the day all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna get some skates,
and I'm gonna start skating again.
That's gonna be my
thing. Yeah, we can do that.
But I'm gonna get some skates.
Yes.
And then we can hook up.
Yes, that would be so much fun.
That's what's up. All right,
yes.
So I'm so glad that you were able to come and spend this time with me. I so appreciate you sharing with my ladies. I knew they needed to hear from you. Shout out to Jamaica, who was like, that's who you need to have. I recorded her podcast. I interviewed her, and I was like, after I got off, I was like, who do you know that you feel like they need to be on this podcast? My people need to hear from them. She was like, hands down.
I love Jamaica. That's my girl.
She was like, hands down, that's who it needs to be.
That's my sis. Yes.
So great. She's like, you'll see when you interview it. So it's great. And so I'm glad that I did. I'm glad we did this. Where can they go to connect with you?
I'm Lindsay Ray Perry at Lindsay Ray Perry everywhere. That's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, at Lindsay Ray Perry everywhere. I also have the I Am Quotient community, which the I Am Quotient stands for Identify, Align, Manifest. Similar to what I said, if you want to go somewhere, you need to identify where you are, align with where you want to be, and manifest that result. It came from God, I am that I am. He will be who you need him to be. You can go and join the I Am Quotient community on Facebook. Just me giving some tips, maybe even some biz tips. As a business owner, I do like to help people and taking the necessary steps, especially women entrepreneurs just starting out, taking the necessary steps that they need to take to really level up in business. And so, yeah, just join that Facebook community. It's private. They're gonna ask you a couple of questions, but it's all good. At Lindsay Ray Perry everywhere. And I'm excited. I just love connecting with my community to just be authentic and show them like where I am in my journey. I am not a shy person when it comes to sharing my story. So
that's great. And we're going to have all the links in the show notes. So don't y'all worry. We'll have links to the group. We'll have links to Lindsay Ray Perry. I love that you're that everywhere. Lindsay Ray Perry everywhere. That's
everywhere.
All right, y'all. This is it. Thank y'all so much. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please get your whole, like, it's 2021. Okay, sis, get your whole life. Subscribe, like in real life, bro, for real. All right, y'all. And I will see y'all next time. Later. Thanks for tuning in to the Dose of Courage podcast. I hope that you feel bolder, more confident, and courageous after listening to this episode. If you loved it, say so. And love in the podcast world is a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And it's also by sharing it on social media and tagging us at Dose of Courage and at Courage Molina. I love y'all. And as always, go out and make this day a courageous one.